My name is Alan Preston Bland. I was born and raised in Fayetteville, Arkansas for the first 18 years, and then after college, I've been in Rogers the rest of my life, so over 45 years.
Good, thank you.
You bet.
Tell me about your parents. Who were your parents and what were they like?
Edgar Bland and Patricia Bland, and they're both born and raised in Rogers. My dad was born at the Rocky Branch school, near the Rocky Branch schoolhouse on the Rocky Branch farm. He was born there in 1925. My mother was born in Rogers 1930. So they were both raised here, but then moved to Fayetteville in the late 50s and were there until about 78, moved back out to the lake. Raised in Fayetteville, but every weekend, even in Fayetteville, we had property out at the lake. So every weekend of our life, we camped near Rocky Branch Park. And we were clearing property, and eventually in 1970 built a cabin out there. So every weekend we were at the lake, or even before the lake when the river was still there, and we used to cross the old Highway 12 bridge. You'll see pictures of it. And then one day came from Fayetteville and we couldn't go that way anymore, and we had to go a new route through Rogers and cross the new Highway 12 bridge, which was very ugly at the time, just because it was not the old iron bridge. So I remember doing that. And then when the lake was slowly coming up, there was a great pond I used to fish with, catch frogs, snakes. I'm a big snake guy, and catch fish. And then we came out the next weekend and my favorite pond was gone. This lake called Beaver was coming up and covering everything and flooding all the trees and going over some caves and stuff. And I remember as a youngster not really understanding what was going on, but I knew that something big was happening, that the lake was coming in. And so it was really neat to see the lake coming in and from day one. So I enjoyed that. Well, they built it originally, the Corps wanted to build it where it is today. And it confuses still a lot of people today about where it's at. We used to get calls every year. Somebody said, you put the dam in the wrong location. You should have put it near Fayetteville. Because a lot of people move here and they don't understand that there's 4 rivers here that go north. And it kind of baffles people that river can flow north. They eventually turn and go south, but here they go north. So they would call and say, you should have put the dam, down at the south end of the lake. And it's like, no, we kind of know what we're doing here. But it was built originally for, the Corps had projected it for hydroelectric power. We have 2 big generators, and for flood reduction. And a lot of people don't understand how we do flood reduction. And Congress said, no, you can't do that. You need to add something else. So that's when we came back and added water supply. What a benefit that has been. So it was constructed for 3 reasons: for flood reduction, hydroelectric power, and water supply. Well, being a ranger of the Fly the Boat Patrol, I was the one that would be given programs all the time. So I went into Missouri. We did all the schools in Northwest Arkansas. I would be called to do a snake program, a mammal program, have all the mammal hides. Trail walks, take them on trail walks, identify trees, leaves, birds, stuff like that. I'd have people, our office there on North 2nd Street in Rogers would bring me snakes almost every week during the season, which is now, and want to know what it is or what kind of lizard that is. And so I would educate people there, but give a lot of programs. We would actually go out and, I authorized boat docks for a long time, so I would go out and meet with people. We had a little bit of our shoreline zone for docks, so would approve the location. They have to turn in dock plans. We have to get them approved, and we inspect their dock every 5 years. Whether they're putting electricity on, then we have to make sure they're doing everything correctly. So we inspect their docks every 5 years. So we walk the shoreline with them to show them this is government property and this is where your property is, and tell them what you can and cannot do on that property. So that's a lot of what we did on the boat dock side. And the park side, we have 11 parks from down below Beaver Dam to all the way over to War Eagle. So it stretches the whole length of the park. So we would have to hire our park attendants, which are not employees of the government, but they're contractors. So we had to hire them. We had to get mowers, people to mow it, people to pump out the pump houses, to clean everything. So that's a lot of our job, is to try to get people to come in, train them on computers, have them in the gatehouse, that little building in the middle of the road when you come in there, how to treat visitors, how to call us. And then we would do a lot of patrol, especially after 10 o'clock at night. It was quiet hours. So we would walk the park a lot and have to get on to a lot of people about being quiet. We would issue citations. and take them to federal court if we had to. And if people were cutting a lot of trees on government property, such as developers, we would take it mandatory. You had to appear in front of a federal judge, usually at Fort Smith, and then we would assess the value of the trees that you cut on government property, which, like I said, belongs to everybody. And then so we would say, okay, you just cut $235,000 worth of trees, so we're going to ask for that. And then you cut, like, let's say you cut 65 trees down. We want you to plant 65 trees back. We'll show you where to plant them. They have to be balled and burlap nursery stock, and they have to be guaranteed for 3 years. And you have to plant them back. And then we put a big yellow sign right in front of their house on government property that says it's a restoration area. And it's embarrassing to them because they don't want that sign there. So the day that it expires, they call us, hey, you want to come take that sign down? Because they just show that they've been in trouble with the federal government. But our job is to manage that shoreline and keep it as natural as possible. And we always, people say, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. Well, go to Bella Vista Lakes where you can do anything you want. Go to Grand Lake over in Oklahoma. Grand River Dam Authority runs that. And there's or Lake Hamilton, Lake Catherine, down a little, about Hot Spring. Those are not Corps of Engineers lakes. So if you want to mow all the way down underwater, if you want to cut every tree, build a boat dock any way you want it, put it any how you want it, then you need to go there. But we work very hard to keep the shoreline, the part that the government owns, as natural as possible. That's why you move here. That's why you like to see a beautiful shoreline and not a shoreline like a Bella Vista Lake. So we'd explain that to them, but we would have to take them, several people throughout the year to court to get reparations for the government for what they did.
So talk to me about the changes that you saw over the years in the park. I mean, probably very simple with not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now more places, and I mean, what was it like?
Yeah, it's very frustrating to do that. At first, you could come out first come, first serve. Hey, come out on Friday, grab a campsite. Most people stay the weekend and leave on Sunday, wave when you're leaving, no problem. Northwest Arkansas got so big, but then we had to start taking reservations. You had to make a reservation. Now, all of our sites, there's no more first come, first serve because it's too busy. So you have to make a reservation sometimes 6 months, 8 months in advance just to go out and camp at one of our parks because they're so busy. We've actually had to close a couple of our parks on a Saturday or Sunday because we were absolutely packed. You couldn't park another boat. You couldn't launch another boat trailer. The campsites were full. I mean, they're that full. So we've done carrying capacity studies. We've contracted those out. We've done 2 where they come up by helicopter, count the number of boats, what kind of boat is it, what they're doing, interview people at the ramp, every boat dock owner around the lake, and there's a lot of boat dock owners. We don't allow docks anymore, new docks. So it just came to a point where from it was just easy days, hey, come on out and camp and have a good time, to that doesn't happen anymore. So many people here, so many people want to come to Beaver Lake. Out of 406 Corps of Engineers projects in the United States, usually we're the 3rd busiest out of 406. The only 2 that are busiest us are in Georgia because they're open longer for camping and stuff. So we're the 3rd busiest in the United States. That's pretty impressive. Northwest Arkansas.
But what are some of the other changes you've seen over the years? I mean, obviously we've had big population boosts and
Right.
Other stuff.
Yeah, huge. I mean, if you on the lake, there's so many more houses now. Everybody wants to be on the lake, and everybody wants a boat dock. And we already have like 13 or 1400 docks on the lake, and we finally came up with a policy: no more new docks. So, if you have a dock, consider yourself lucky. If you want to go sell that dock, it's worth a whole lot more money because we don't allow new ones anymore. It's just come to that point where we had to do that. It's like, okay, kind of like in Spanish, no mas. We give up. We have to set some firm rules to do that. We still have massive camping, but a lot of houses, which a lot of the houses that were built before, I believe 1972, you could have your septic really, really close to the government tank line within 25 feet. So there is issues even today with some septics, leaking into the lake. So we find those, or we get reported that, hey, there's sewage, running in the lake. Not like it used to be, but we have to watch for that too, is make sure the lakes, and work with different groups. I'm on several different environmental groups that their job is the rivers and the creeks coming into Beaver, to make sure they're treated good. We used to fly over in a helicopter, a National Guard helicopter, once a year, and I would take pictures of things from the air where people we call them encroaching on government property, whether it's a chicken house, a house, a deck built over the government line, if you built a house over or the deck hang over the government line, you have to take part of that deck off. You can't have it do that. You have to be right up. You can be right up to the line, but you can't have anything on the line or over the government take line. We come out and meet anybody anytime, show them exactly where the government take line is. We can give an aerial photo, show with an overview of where the government line is, the monument numbers, the whole thing. So there's really no excuse, but people try. Everybody has an excuse. Well, I didn't know you couldn't do that. Well, we're just a phone call away. We're out there in Rogers, so just way too many people, in my opinion, now. But it is what it is.
Over the years, you've been interviewed a lot by newspapers and television and stuff
Yes.
about the lake. What are some of the things you've been asked about?
A lot of times it's about when I do, unfortunately, like a drowning. We've had a drowning or a bad boat accident, or when I would do the Beaver Lake cleanup, they would come out and I could show them definitely easily where there's a bunch of trash piled up and that, hey, we want to come out and get this. A lot of people just want to come out and interview, just get on the boat, basically take a boat ride. But want to talk about the environment, what changes have they seen on the lake quality, the water quality, the different water intake structures, so different things like that. Oh, bald eagles. I did the bald eagle count, forever, over 30 years. Counted the bald eagles every January to keep it time. So, the Hobbs State Park has a boat. So I would lead like tours to go out and look at bald eagles and to tell them all about the eagles. And eagles have done extremely very well. More eagles on Beaver Lake in the wintertime than any other lake in Arkansas. Well, the Interstate 49 coming through has made, a huge difference, without a doubt. Brought a lot more people, a lot more traffic, a lot more noise. And just the growth of everywhere, it kills me. All these cities say they're tree city, USA, and I see all these trees cut down. Even like right now, people are cutting trees down. Well, right now is when peak birding season is. It's technically illegal to cut down a tree with a bird nest in it. People are cutting down trees and not knowing sometimes a dead tree and then a raccoon and babies come out, or different thing like that. So they come in and they just clear cut. Hey, we just hired somebody to clear cut. Doesn't matter what time of year, it's like, hey, that's property, it's worth a lot of money, let's clear cut it, get it out. So the wildlife takes a huge toll when that happens, when they do that. So, but the development of, and the thing of the Hobbs State Park has made a huge difference. Large state park in Arkansas, over 12,000 acres. Very fortunate that it's there. It was purchased in 1979, and now they have the visitor center, so great education, wise. A lot of people come out. 56 miles of biking trail, horse, trails. People from all over the world come here now, which is good and bad. It's like, I want to say, hey, welcome, Northwest Arkansas, but you don't have to move here. It's okay. You can go back and I always joke around that I wish 30 years ago I could have locked the gates at the state line and said, okay, you can come in and visit, but you have to go home and you can't come back here and move. I mean, I wish I could do that. Could keep it the way it was, but we can't, So the growth everywhere, the hotels, a business overnight, not only in Rogers, Bentonville, the square down there, it's just amazing to see. Every piece of land is taken up, even over at Siloam Springs. It's getting crazy over there now. Everybody's spreading out. So a lot of people like it. I'm one of those, just because I've been here all my life, don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it. Just insane growth.
What are some of the memories that stand out over the years involving the lake?
Oh, a lot of them were, I did a lot of stuff with, believe it or not, when President Clinton was here. I worked, kind of a neat story there. He stayed at his friend's house, Blister Blair, over near the Hickory Creek area. So we got to be the lead boat in front of the president and Hillary, their daughter, what was her name? Chelsea. I had, like in my boat, my patrol boat, I had like the president's doctor, Hillary's nurse, 2 White House staff, 3 Secret Service guys for a whole week. And Chelsea tried to get up to ski, like a dozen times. She couldn't. So my Secret Service guy says, hey, take me over there to her boat. And he did. He jumped in the water, and within 5 minutes, he had her skiing. So it was really neat. I actually get to because nobody saw it, but I actually got to hold the I don't know what they call it now, the nuclear case, that has the nuclear codes in it. It was an Air Force captain, I believe, that he handed it to me. It was handcuffed to him to get it on my boat. So I got to hold it for a second. So that was kind of neat. And then we were going along, and they told me to go to the bank. So I went to the bank, and they said, get out of the boat. So I got out of the boat, and then this White House guy popped up a little thing, and a little satellite dish came up. And so the president came over there, and I could hear enough that it was King Fahd from Saudi Arabia calling. So him and the president were talking on the shore of Beaver Lake. And that was kind of cool. So I heard some of it, and then they said, you didn't hear any of that. I said, no, sir, I didn't hear any of that. But the scariest thing was we stayed at Hickory Creek Marina because we had to be accessible anytime that the president or any of them wanted to go out on the lake. Right at daylight every morning, I would look outside. We stayed in a camper. The Navy SEALs were coming out of the water because they had to check every boat at the marina to make sure there wasn't any explosives or anything. They had been diving under the water. The scariest part was, and I didn't find this out till a few years later, we had a huge buoy line that said no boats because we didn't want anybody close, but we could do that. We could cross it. Secret Service guy calls that to come over and pick me up below where the president's staying. So I've got a marked boat, says Ranger, Blue Lights, the whole thing. So I go over there, go across the buoy line. I didn't know it. I should have known it. There's a Secret Service sniper on the other side of the lake. And we had to work with the Secret Service a lot. We had to know every road. If we took the president down towards the dam, where was a road that they could come down and pick him up if they had to. I mean, it was very, very detailed. So I crossed the line, and I was going to see the Secret Service guy on the bank. And a deputy was with the sniper, and the sniper apparently had zoomed in on the back of my head, was waiting for the word in his ear that I was cleared to cross that line. And the deputy kept saying, yeah, I know him. He's okay. He's okay. He had his finger on the trigger and was about to pull it because even though I'm in a uniform in a marked boat, he didn't hear it in his ear that it was clear. He finally got the clearance that I was okay to do that. And, I found out later, like, oh my gosh. So I almost got killed doing my job, but that guy just didn't have it in his ear that it was okay. The end of the story is the last day the president was supposed to go to HQ Chicken because he loved HQ Chicken there. But he ran late, way late, because Chelsea wanted to show his mom and dad that she learned how to ski on Beaver Lake. So what was cool is everybody else had left, all the Secret Service guys. I mean, they were already at HQ Chicken. So there's just a few of them left, and I still was there in my patrol boat. I had the only boat there. So everybody piled in my boat real quick, and I went way in front, and everybody that passed the president and the Hillary, and they were in a ski boat. Nobody had no idea that was the president. So Chelsea wanted to show the parent that she learned to ski. So she did, and I wasn't allowed to take any pictures or anything, but she learned to ski on Beaver Lake. So while everybody was waiting for the president at AQ Chicken, they were skiing on Beaver Lake. Bill wasn't, but they saw that Chelsea did, and then finally got off the lake and went into AQ Chicken. So that was kind of a cool event. That everybody was passing the president in an unmarked boat, and they were just waving, because I had no idea that was the president. So that was a cool event. One good story, yeah.
Any others that stand out?
Oh, just bad boat accidents, drownings. I was on the dive team, so I recovered a lot of drowning victims or boat accident victims, with parts missing, pieces missing, or with the prop cut them up. We've had 129 drownings on this lake since it filled. We've yet to have anybody drown wearing a life jacket. I think that speaks volumes. That is a lot of drownings, but no more or less than any other large lake that you get millions of people come to every year. So that's the saddest part, and to go down and find it. And before those days, we would drag with big treble hooks. We would drag the bottom of the lake to try to snag people and bring them up. But then I got on the dive team, then we got underwater communication, cameras. So it's easier, and still there's 3 people that I know of that drowned that have been down under the lake for years, and they'll never come up. You get past 70 feet and they're cold and they're perfectly preserved, but everybody I ever recovered or went and worked on, every one of them had their eyes open. Even if they'd been underwater for 30 days or 45 days. Can you imagine the last thing they saw was the surface, whatever happened. And nobody drowned with a life jacket. So that's the sad part, but most interesting part of my job would be that. And then taking people to court and getting restoration for what they did on federal property and getting it to be planted and look back natural. the way it was before they moved there and destroyed the habitat.
Is that a big issue to keep it up?
Yeah, it is. It still is. You know, we didn't have many rangers at all. We have a few more now, but it is constantly. I mean, we have like 460 something miles of shoreline. It's hard to keep up with all that shoreline from past Twin Bridges in Fayetteville. The government line goes way up there and it goes all the way up to War Eagle, quite a way. So it's a constant job. That's why it was better to fly it. You could see a lot of things you couldn't by coming in by boat. But it's a constant job. Lots of times we get neighbors telling on other neighbors, hey, I think they're down there with a dozer, or I hear chainsaw, and we'd get out there and do that. And sometimes just when we were inspecting a boat, we would look up there and go, okay, something's happened up on core property. So very common problem.
If someone came to you from another part of the country or just the state and said,
Right.
tell me about Beaver Lake. What's it like? What would you tell them?
It's an awesome lake. It's a deep lake. Got clear water. It's great for diving. We have Mulder Hollow, which is what everybody calls Sailboat Cove. Huge sailboating on the north end of the lake. So they have regattas all the time up there. Diving is tremendous. Bald eagles in the wintertime. Whether we have 7 nesting pairs that stay on the lake year round. There's so much to see and do on the lake. It's just absolutely tremendous. Fishing is incredible. We own 2 state records for fish. I think pretty soon we're going to probably get the state record for walleye, but we have the state record for striped bass, 68 pounds. And we have the state record for spoonbill, which is kind of a prehistoric looking fish. I believe it was 134 pounds. So fishing is tremendous. Just about any sport you want to do out there. Parasailing, we have 7 big marinas on the lake that can rent a boat, houseboat, fishing boat, pontoon boat. There's a restaurant down at Prairie Creek. There's one at Hickory Creek where you can go and eat on the lake and look out. I mean, you want to do it. It's on Beaver Lake because it's a big, beautiful lake.
How big of an impact is the water supply?
It's everything. To be over 600,000 people get their drinking water from Beaver now. That's one out of every 5th person in Arkansas, which is pretty tremendous. I mean, we're over 3 million now. So to know that 1 every 5th person drinks that water, and it may be up to 700,000 now, but I know it's around 600,000, with 4 water intake structures on the lake, all pulling water out of the lake. Now we always get, when the lake gets low, which the low, and you got to remember, like right now it's at 1,123 feet above sea level, like we call 1123. It's been down to, the lowest it's ever been was 1977, it was 1092. So the lake can fluctuate from 1092 to 1132, 42 feet. It has fluctuated 42 feet before. And that's the frustrating part is people don't understand. They forget sometimes if they own a dock or they go out there, the lake's low. Will it ever fill again? Do we have enough water to drink? Yes. This is a deep lake. We have plenty of water. For the next 50 years, 100 years, we have plenty of water. The problem is a lot of times the city hadn't kept up with having a big enough water line for the need to meet the growing population. So if you hear that, well, they're limiting car wash days, or you can only water your yard once a week or whatever. That's not because there's not enough water in Beaver. They haven't caught up with the roads haven't caught up with yet, but they haven't built a big enough water line to meet that demand that's every day in the lake. So the lake is just so beautiful, and so wildlife like crazy. You can hunt around the shoreline around the lake. It's called the Beaver Lake Wildlife Management Area. You can hunt on the islands, but just look up the game and fish rules on Beaver Lake Wildlife Management Area and you can see that. People duck hunt on the lake. I duck hunt on the lake. I spearfish on the lake. I scuba dive, and so you want to do it, you can do it on Beaver Lake.
If somebody came to you and asked you about Benton County,
not
just the lake, but they said, what would you tell me about Benton County? What would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them that it is a beautiful county. We have a lot of natural resource. We have a lot of good agencies here that are protecting as much as they can. There's a new place over near Siloam Springs, 200 acres, the Nature Conservancy bought, and the Logan Preserve near the Logan Cave, that the Fish and Wildlife owns some property there. It's a beautiful county. It's very diverse. You can go from the east side, where the lake is, wooded area, go to the west side, where it's still kind of agriculture. Benton County for the longest time had more cattle in it than any other county. Out of 75 counties, Benton County was the leading cattle producer in the state. I don't think they are now, because now a field where cattle was is great for a storage unit or a subdivision. So those guys are slowly thinking. But the diversity of the county, from Bentonville, and everybody working for Walmart that have come in, all the vendors that are here, it's got everything. You talk to somebody that's just moved here, like today I was doing some events, and have you heard of Beaver Lake? No. Have you heard of Hobbs State Park? Have you heard of Madison County Wildlife Management Area? Have you heard of no? So we're always trying to educate people to come out, see what you've moved to, and there's so many every day. I forget the thing, like 100 something people are moving a day to Benton County. So our job, I just feel my job being on several environmental groups is to educate them environmentally, the value of Beaver Lake, what you can do on the lake, what you can do on the west side of the county towards Siloam, Gravette, Decatur, Gentry. XNA Airport has made a huge difference in Benton County. My gosh. And now it's a national airport. It's been upgraded to that. And they keep adding on there. That's been a tremendous. I remember before it was the airport, I'd go out there and rabbit hunt in that area. Shoot some rabbits every now and then. Now you'd have to shoot an airplane. But between that and then just the natural beauty still of Benton County is tremendous. And the bike trail, everything you can do here, everybody that comes here and really learns the county is very, very, very impressed. My favorite thing about Benton County is Beaver Reservoir. Of course, living out there, working out there, is that big old lake out there. One for water, all the events you can do out there. And a second, I would say, probably Bentonville, all the neat events they have there. The Farmers Square, Farmers Market they have there is tremendous. And going all over the county, from the west side to the east side, the diversity of the natural history of diversity, and from the north part of the county to the south, I mean, it's just a beautiful. But I would have to say the favorite part of Benton County to me is Beaver Reservoir. And most people don't even know it's a reservoir. They don't know the difference between a reservoir and a lake, and that's fine. We'll still call it Beaver Lake.